presentation. As I say, we'll come home now. Focus on the home front. We're going to now hear from Ayinde, Katunga, on the very fundamental issue, which speaks to the elections that are coming up, the fundamental issue of one man, one vote, and the implications. So, Ayinde, if I could ask you to unmute yourself and deliver your presentation. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Dilly. Thank you, Mr. Ogun. First of all, I'd like to congratulate the entire Fatherland for being steadfast and constantly committed to the cause towards the orange. We know the answer, but it's about scaling up. My topic is the realities of one man, one vote. What are the realities of one man and one vote in general? But particularly, what are the realities about one man, one vote in the dispensation and disposition of Nigeria? I think we need to bring in now an avatar. We need to bring in somebody who could answer that question. And whom I have on mind is no one else but John Locke. John Locke is of blessed memory. He died a long time ago, but his era was the 17th century. He was a physician, a political theorist, and a philosopher. And he is still widely regarded as the most influential of all of the Enlightenment thinkers. So I want to put forward to Mr. John Locke, whose work directly, not in person, influenced the American Revolution. So he knows a thing or two about liberal democracy, which is based upon the will of the people. Liberal democracies, as you would know, centers about the entitlements of the governed. And the government must receive the consent of the governed. This is the basis. It speaks more about rights than it does responsibility, but it was very popular and it spread wide. Just to bring John Locke more into the picture, after the English Glorious Revolution, after the English had kicked out James II because he wouldn't defer to Parliament, and the Parliament brought in someone called Prince William of Orange, John Locke wrote in support of the Glorious Revolution. It was the instituting of constitutional monarchy in England. So John Locke has a lot of knowledge. Now, this is what he said about voting in general. Those who give their votes before they hear the debate and have not weighed the reasons on all sides are not capable. That is serious. Elections isn't merely dropping a piece of paper into a ballot box. It's not merely about brandishing a right or a privilege. It's about exercising responsibility. Let's read that again. Because the concern here, what are the realities of one man, one vote? Nigeria is in a quagmire. It searches for the orange. The path is a bit unclear. We are beginning to congeal the knowingness in the thinkers department, but it hasn't translated. Grown-ups don't cheat themselves and they don't fool themselves. Now, ours is a multi-ethnic country. It's multicultural, it's multilingual, multi-religious, and it has faulty political foundation. So we have to examine the worth and the value of the vote towards for our children, for our grandchildren, for the next generation, the next heritage. Let's read that again. This is John Locke, who, well, not directly influenced, but the American Revolution was based upon his knowingness. Those who give their votes before they hear the debate and have not weighed the reasons on all sides are not capable. This is serious. So he's speaking to the tribalists. Will that fit? He's speaking to the bigot, the social bigot, the religious bigot, maybe the professional bigot, working class, middle class, the uneducated, the mal-educated, the fool, the ignorant. Ours is a highly fractionated society. So undoubtedly, across the wide cleavages, across the wide gulfs, we are bound to encounter those who have automated opinions, because our history has been such that the single identity has not emerged. So if I were to ask John Locke directly, should we be instituting one man, one vote in Nigeria on a basis of universal adult suffrage? I don't think we should be guessing. Right. Is universal adult suffrage right? Is it a right? Well, let's not be too harsh. It is right in the Garden of Eden. Universal adult suffrage is a right in the Garden of Eden. The Garden of Eden is the natural state that a lot of the Enlightenment thinkers often spoke about, the natural state of man. A lot of their theories were abstractions based upon the notion of how man behaved before we became overly civilized and sought our sojourn in civilization. So, okay, let me ask it differently this time. Is it wrong? Is universal adult suffrage wrong? It is wrong in the wrong place all of the time. And it's wrong in the right place at the wrong time. Now, what we're speaking to here is the notion that because universal suffrage may be an effective tool to wield through choosing the leader in a Western democracy, it doesn't translate, and it cannot translate into purposefulness in our situation. And we must have the self-confidence to step up, because there is a right time for a root and branch reform of Nigeria. And these are some of the things that we need to start thinking about. Now, it will be heretical to say that in the town square, on a huge rostrum, not everybody deserves the vote. But universal suffrage is not an end. It's not an end unto itself. I mean, a liberal democracy is about separation of powers, which depends upon institutions, protection of civil rights. Voting is quite a small aspect of a democracy, especially when you look at the formidable role of civil society to always determine the talking points, to always keep politicians on their toes. The effect of the ballot is wholly dependent on the effectiveness of civil society. If we see societies structured around the family, around the community, around the town, and the urban places, the big cities, the work of the citizen is in those places first and foremost. First and foremost. That is where we shape ownership. I want to bring Thomas Jefferson into the equation now, or into the conversation. And what I'm trying to explain, I think I'll do this way. Now, Thomas Jefferson was a USA American, let's say US American, a USA founding father, right? Who was also the ambassador to France. He was in France at the time of the revolution in France. So they had experience. And even though he supported the French Revolution, when he was speaking to the thinkers of the revolution, he said, I don't think you're quite ready for a republic. They were not ready. He supported them. He supported the pursuit of liberty, but he said they were not ready yet to be a republic. That they should, he'd rather there be a constitutional monarchy. And why did he say this? He didn't think they had that cultural grasp yet. So we're speaking to the notion of one size doesn't necessarily fit all. And if it doesn't fit, then we need to at least have the discussion, have the debate. Supposing Deng Xiaoping in 1978 had sought advice and he said to us, I want to eliminate poverty in China. I mean, given what we know now, and he says, I want to grow the economy. I need your advice. Given what we know now, would advice be institute urgently a liberal democracy with universal adult suffrage, given what we know now of China? Theoretically, especially we who have imbibed a lot of Western models of thinking and assumptions, I wouldn't be surprised if we may have thought like that. Chairman Mao has passed away, and you are now the helm of affairs. Mr. Deng Xiaoping, institute urgently a liberal democracy with universal suffrage, and everything will be fine, hunky-dory, no problems at all whatsoever. Given what we know now, we wouldn't be saying that. The UK's democracy grew over a period of 137 years, between 1832 to 1969. And before the first Great Reform Act of 1832, only 4% of the population were entitled to vote. And they were mostly rich land-owning gentry. That was 1832. They achieved 100%, male and female above the age of 18 in 1969, 137 years. And if we want to extend that, we could go further back as far as the 1215 Magna Carta. That was 1215. The articles and the ideas of liberty had been done piecemeal over a very long time. And through a process of trial and error, the building blocks were being formed. The USA, by extension, drew quite a lot from the English experience. After all, I did say earlier that John Locke was a profound influence on the American Revolution, and most of the American founding fathers had parents, grandparents, great-grandparents who were Englishmen. The 13 American colonies were an outpost, really. Does one political paradigm fit everything? The fact that people decide not to utilize universal adult suffrage, it doesn't mean that democratic principles are necessarily being impugned. I think it was King Cyrus of Persia who said, diversity in council, unity in command. That is democracy. Inclusivity and pluralism. The principles of inclusivity and pluralism can be upheld. Is universal adult suffrage right for Nigeria, or is it not? Thank you.